Right, hi. Okay, today, because it's like I've had to put on hold all this sort of giving up alcohol thing. It's not, to me, it's not that important, right? There's all kinds of reasons why this is. One is that, for example, being obese, which is, I see loads of people being obese, is 8 times more dangerous for you than being like smoking. So being largely overweight, I'm not particularly overweight. I'm a little bit overweight, but it's not like proper obesity, I don't think. So smoking is not such a bad idea because it helps you, keep your weight down. Compared to being obese, you're better off smoking, much better off, 8 times better off. So and alcohol is like, there are problems with alcohol, but then the oldest woman on record and the oldest man, who's not very well documented, but in China, this guy lived till 252, and he drank alcohol every day. He drank all his tinctures, his herbal tinctures. He had them every day, So, alcohol and tobacco, they've got such a bad rep, The oldest woman on record, the French woman, she smoked for like 97 years or something like that, Probably only 2 cigarettes a day, but she was still a smoker, and she's the oldest woman on record. So, I just don't trust what the government says, I think science is really interesting. All these, I look at these studies, I find them really interesting. The fact that like 90% of people don't have a proper conscience, for example. 90% of people, when they get to the end of their lives, feel like they've wasted their lives. I find studies like this really interesting because there's loads of figures. They've done studies on tens or hundreds of thousands of people all around the world to make these studies, right? And so they're very accurate and clear. And I think it's really important to know this stuff. I don't want to get to the end of my life and think that I've wasted it. This is why I do this stuff, like the work and that. Okay, just getting on with what I have planned for today. Hello, watcher. Okay, well, so these books that I've been reading, I've gone on about them loads a few times before. The Malazan Book of the Fallen. This is the 3rd book, right? Now I got into them about sort of five or so years ago, and as you can see, they're quite thick books. This isn't the biggest one, but they're all roughly around this sort of size. They're big, chunky books. There's 10 of them in the series. It's an epic series, like fantasy series. Now, it's really hard to sort of. I've been trying to rack my brains for years, trying to think of how do I talk about this series, and try to get across what's so good about it. Why am I reading it, for example, for the 4th time? In 5 years, I'm reading it for the 4th time. The whole series. I've gone through it like 3 times. I've just finished the 3rd time. The third like round of it a few months ago, and I'm back again to I'm on the 3rd book again. This is the 4th time round. I've never had any books like that before that I've read more than sort of twice. I'm just thinking some of the Dune Chronicles. No, I've read the Dune. Dune's been out for years and years, and I've read it maybe twice. In all those years. But in 5 years, I've read this. I'm on my 4th time. I've never had a series of books like that I've you know, and I'm still on the fourth time. I'm still really enjoying it. I'm still finding stuff that I didn't really get in the first few times round. Maybe I'm getting just because I'm getting old. I don't know. Anyway, well, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about some of the things about these books that I find fantastic and really worthwhile, right? So, first of all, I'm going to read this quote on the back from Stephen R. Donaldson, right? You can probably see it there. There you go. You can see it quite clearly. I'll just read it anyway. Stephen Erikson afflicts me with awe. His work does something that only the rarest of books can manage. It alters the reader's perception of reality. Right? So it's like a drug. It's like cannabis or sort of LSD or something, you know. It alters your perception of reality. Oh dear. So that's one of the reasons I like it. It's like, it's such a formidable read that it really does change the way you think about the world. And right, this guy, Stephen Erikson, it's not. There's no picture of him in this book. I might get a picture of him actually, so you can see him. He's an archaeologist and an anthropologist. So he studies history, you know, in terms of like, you know, buildings and what's left behind by old civilizations. But he also studies humanity, humans and their environment and stuff and culture. Now, judging by what I found of modern archaeologists and historians and stuff, they lie through their teeth all the time. They just constantly lie, right? So you can't really trust anything they say. So what I've figured out is that people like Stephen Erikson are going to give you a much more accurate version of history, right? Because they've actually done the field work. They've been out there. He's studied humankind and anthropology. He's also studied archaeology. So he's got a much better grasp of what's really been happening than, say, what you get from your normal historians and archaeologists who are constantly lying through their teeth, you know. So although it's fantasy, it's labelled as fantasy, it's sold as fantasy, I've got much more faith in this as an accurate historical representation of our history than I have with the mainstream history. So that's the one reason. That's the first reason why it's such a good read. The second reason is that it's just a good read. You know, it's very well put together. The plot's very tight. It's all encompassing. It's got so much stuff in there that is like just constitutes a good read. Some really great characters that are just unbelievably well written and so funny and just sort of like really like a delight to read about, you know. And this is why I've gone back, like I'm on the fourth read now. It's really hard to speak too highly about it, you know. There are some mistakes. There's some mistakes in there about how he's described some characters' age, and you know, then later on in another book, he's put them at a different age, and it doesn't really tally up. There are a few minor mistakes in the whole series, but it's 10 great big thick books. I mean, if he didn't make any mistakes, I would be a little bit worried. But the fact that he's made a few tiny little mistakes, it's okay. It's good. You know, it sort of makes him seem human, you know. Otherwise, you would just wonder, you know, that this guy could write something so amazing. But, you know, you can find the odd few tiny little mistakes throughout the books, but they are so small and there's so few of them that it's really like it's it's not a problem. In fact, I'm glad there are a few mistakes there, you know, because otherwise, yeah, as I say, I'd be a bit like, I'd find it hard to comprehend. Okay, it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult to really sort of talk about it because there's so much in there. I don't want to like ruin it by giving like spoilers. Oh, the other thing, yeah, the third thing, right? It's like a really good version of the astral plane. So, you know, and the history in terms of the astral plane. So there's a lot of interesting knowledge in there in terms of magic and stuff that just you can relate to. I can relate to. It makes sense to me. You know, a load of stuff that I wouldn't probably have thought about. Also, it's like there's loads of psychology manuals woven into the script. You know, it's such a good read. For so many reasons. It's really difficult to list them all because so there's loads of psychology in there. There's loads of philosophy. There's loads of like historical comment about things that apply to our history as it is. Not just this fictional history, but like it relates to what's really going on in the real world right now, you know. And you know, I could give you examples. I'm sure if I put my mind to it, but it's like I haven't really bothered. There's so much stuff in there that is so relevant that it's just yeah. You know, I could give you examples. It would take me ages. You know, and probably, you know, and I'm not, I don't expect people to just like, well, you know, I don't want to like go through all that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to make a point about why it's worth reading and why you should read it, you know, because compared to things like Lord of the Rings, it's like it's completely in a league of its own. You know, it makes Lord of the Rings look like a children's book. I mean, maybe it was a children's book, but this is like Lord of the Rings, but expanded for like an adult audience. You know, it's so much more vast, so much more all-encompassing, so much more detailed and well written. You know. I just can't rate it highly enough. That's what it is. Okay, so some of the other things I want to talk about, why the work, why I'm putting the work like I don't feel like I need to rush ahead with quitting alcohol because it's been a long time. I've been drinking alcohol for over 30 years, pretty much every day. So trying to rush giving up something like this is just, there's no point, you know, as far as I'm concerned. It's something I want to do. Like the reason I want to give up alcohol is to get healthier, right? Now, the reason I want to get healthier is because the work is going to go on, it seems, for a lot longer than I thought it was going to go on for. And I need to be healthy. I need to be thinking clearly. My body needs to be working efficiently. As far as I'm concerned, I could be doing the work for another 30 or 40 years, you know, quite likely. So if I'm going to be like in my 80s and still trying to do the work, I want to be like I am now, but even more together, even more like awake, more strong, healthy, disciplined, you know, all the sort of things that I need to do the work. I want to be more than I am now in 40 years' time. So that means doing long-term work on my physical health, you know, so that my physical body is able to deal with all this stuff. So it means like a long-term approach to health. It's no good just thinking like I've got to like be healthy for the next few months. So these herbs and stuff are all very well, but you know, there's only really 2 herbs that I've found out about that make a lot of sense in long-term stuff, and that's He Shall Wu and Goji. There are other ones as well. Gynostema, miracle grass. That's one. That can also extend your life by about 20 years. Bee pollen. I've got this really good bee pollen. I'll show you. Now, I bought some bee pollen last year, and about this time last year, actually, because I was finding out about it, how good it is. But, you know, I bought some, and it was all like yellow and orange, which is the normal colour for bee pollen. But that's when you buy it throughout the year, because it's got like grass pollen and stuff. There's not much else except grass pollen for most of the year. But this stuff, I don't know if you can see it there. Probably not very well. Let's have a look, turn it down there. Oh, you can sort of see it quite well. It's got quite a lot of different colours. I can't see them that well on the screen. But there is blues and greens and purples in there, those darker colours. They're like blues and purples and greens, and there's a whole range of different colours in there. But normally, you know, a lot of the time when you buy bee pollen, it's only got yellow and orange. And I much prefer it when it's got all the different colours. It just looks nicer, you know. It looks nicer. Let's try and get this a bit sorted. It's not very good, this camera. It's really hard to get it focused properly. Well, okay, so the bee pollen. Energy booster, strong antioxidant, strengthens immune system, skin smoother, helps relieve stress, supports weight loss and weight control. You know, it's like, it's the good stuff. You know, I bought this in April. April's a good time to buy it in the Northern Hemisphere, because that's when you got spring and you've got a wide variety of plants in flower. So that all the different pollen, you've got a wide variety of different pollens. Now, I understand this is good for your gut biome, your gut flora, because there's so many different stuff in there. There's loads of organisms and enzymes and a wide range of nutrition. Yeah, so that, to me, that's the best time to buy it. You get the multicolored stuff in the springtime. And it's people that use this also. If you use this like 30 grams a day, 30 to 40 grams a day, you're more likely to live 20 years longer than most other people, right? So it's the same with things like gynostemma, he shall woo, and goji, and bee pollen. There are 4 things you can take. There's, each of one of them is going to increase your life by like 20 years. So taking all 4 of them, I'm just going to see how it goes. I feel pretty good, you know, using them all. I've got loads of other stuff that also increases your lifespan, like things like rhodiola. That's supposed to increase your lifespan. Ashwagandha, shilajit. I've got tons of stuff, and that's just the herbs and foods and stuff. There's loads of exercises as well that you can do that also will increase your lifespan. Other things like cold therapy, it seems, that increase your lifespan and make you live longer. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that, you know, that you can use. As I just was saying earlier, I mean, being obese, I would much rather smoke than eat too much, because being obese is much more dangerous for you than smoking. You wouldn't know it though. The way the mass media portrays things, they're not going to tell you things like this. Usually, they're not going to sort of like make a big point of telling you that you know, smoking's not anywhere near as bad for you as being overweight. Whereas smoking cannabis doesn't seem to have any sort of negative side effects at all. And as I said earlier, you know, that there's that woman who was the longest lived woman. She was a smoker. You know, if smoking was really that bad, it would surely be you know, the oldest person on record wouldn't be a smoker, right? I mean, smoking's got some, like, I think it's got some pretty cool things. It's an appetite suppressant, right? So it's going to stop you getting overweight, which is one thing. It's going to, that in itself, just that one thing, is going to make you like 8 times more likely to stay healthy, to stop you getting overweight, you know. So just that one thing alone. Also, it helps with irregular bowel movements. It helps stimulate the colon to give you a regular bowel movement. I've found, and a lot of other people have found, it helps digestion. So when you eat a meal, especially a large meal, and you smoke afterwards, it helps settle your stomach so you can digest your food better. Now, that means you're getting more nutrients out of your food. You might be causing a certain amount of damage from smoking, but if you're getting more nutrients out of your food, then that all those nutrients can help repair any damage. Whereas if you're not digesting your food, even if you're not smoking, you could be doing more damage than otherwise, you know, and you won't be able to repair that damage because you're not digesting your food properly. I mean, different people are different. Some people digest their food okay anyway, so they don't need it. But other people, the sort of food we have access to, if just a little bit of a cigarette at the end of a meal can make you digest your food better, and you're actually better off. And then in the morning, when you have a cigarette to help your bowels move better, then you're also going to be better off, because you're much less likely to get colon cancer because you've got a regular, healthy bowel movement. So, you know, there are quite considerable benefits to smoking. You know, if you compare them with being overweight, then smoking is a lot better for you than being overweight. So if you have a choice between being obese and being a smoker, you're always better off being a smoker. It's true. Do the research, have a look for yourself, find out, you know, that's the truth. I'm just telling you the truth, which is what I always maintain to do. There's some really funny things in this book. There's this guy, Krupp, and he says he's like married to truth. He's so funny, this guy. He's like a round guy with pretty tatty clothing. He's just so funny. I can't really explain to you why he's so funny. You'd have to read the book to get a gist of it. But he's absolutely hilarious, this guy, and he plays quite a big role in the books. And as I say, yeah, it's difficult to explain or you know, get across how good these characters are, how great characters they are. Okay, so I think that's about it for today. You know, I want to talk about the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and also about doing the work. Why it's going to take, you know, it's going to take a long time. I mean, is it worth it doing the work? I don't know. It is if you haven't got anything better to do. As I said earlier, it's like in one of my recent videos, it's like standing in the truth is the most important part of doing the work. All the esoteric stuff that I've done, like going into the other worlds, it could be useful. You know, I've got this thing with my crown chakra at the moment, letting light in, but it's really hard to, it's like a tap, and it's really hard to undo the tap and let the light in. You know, it gets a bit stuck and rusty, it seems, you know, and I want to let it in and like let all this light down. Yeah, so I haven't done the modafinil today. I'm leaving it for the moment. I'm not in a hurry to do this. I'd rather just like take my time, pace myself, wait until I'm ready, and then sort of move forward when I'm ready. If I start making progress, I probably will take that guy's advice that you mentioned. If you want to have a big channel, then don't try and tell people what you're doing right away. And that makes sense because I found that if I talk about my plans, they tend to just fall flat. So whatever I'm doing, I'll probably only tell you like after it's already succeeded now. Because it hasn't been working. And people, you know, you people, I actually like you people like leaving chat on my thing up there. But it is also been a bit of a distraction. But it's nice to hear from people. That's another thing. Like what getting like these first few, like probably couple of weeks or so of making videos again. It's been like a couple of years since I've made videos. So I just want to get into the swing of things, form like a natural, easy sort of like rhythm. I got rid of my Hitler moustache, you know, like my toothbrush moustache, because it's just like it's just going to make things easier. If I keep going, when I go out to the shops and stuff, and I'm wearing that Hitler moustache and I'm trying to give up alcohol, it's just too stressful. You know, it just puts too much of emphasis on me, and people look at me and that, and it's just like I don't need all that. You know, I need a few days to sort of like get people used to me walking around with just looking normal. You know, how like most people look. Well, apart from the way I dress, but apart from that, you know, just the way I look, I'm just going to have a normal haircut, you know, normal facial stuff, and so I can go in and out of the world much more easily, like sort of like disguised like a normal person. Ah, dear. See, I'm still not getting most of the stuff I wanted to talk about. I was sitting there before I made this video, and I thought, oh, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. Oh, what I've been doing. Oh, lately I was watching. What's his name? the guy with the grey hair, who's the pot belly, who does the sort of videos. He talks about reptilians all the time. You know, what's his name? David Icke. I think it's David Icke. Yeah. I was watching a few of his videos. His latest videos. He's got his own channel, and he does some pretty cool videos. I actually left a video on my G Plus page. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. Anyway, it's worth checking out that video. There's loads of information in there. He does sort of like go all funny on a certain moment where he's hiding the truth. I see. That's what I see anyway. He's hiding the truth, and it's interesting because so much of what he puts out is really good information, but he's obviously hiding something, and I'd like to know what it is he's hiding, or know other people's theories are that he's hiding. You know, I find it's worth watching. People like that are worth watching, but you've got to be really together when you're watching his stuff, because you've got to see where his subconscious starts closing down and he's hiding stuff, and you've got to think. You've got to keep your don't, because of a lot of what he says is true. You know, it's so easy to think that everything he says is true. It's the same with things like the Bible and religions and stuff. You know, because most of what they say is true, you tend to think that it's all true. But it's not. You know, they use a lot of truth and sort of to bamboozle you and like make you believe that everything they say is true, and it's not. You know, they use all this truth and then they slip in a few little lies or half truths to sort of deceive you. I mean, if I do that, I'm not aware of it, but I probably do without being aware of it. You know, you have to really like look to yourself. You know, trust your instincts and your intuition, and do plenty of research in all different areas to sort of make sure that you're standing in the truth. You know, it's one of those key points of doing the work. You've got to know where you are. You've got to know what the truth is. Otherwise, you can't really, you know, do your work on solid foundations, which is really you know, you don't want to waste 20 or 30 or 40 years. So you want to know as soon as possible what the truth is, so you can stand in the truth. Now, for me, I basically don't know anything. I mean, I know a few things. I know that the government's lying to us all the time. The mass media is lying to us. I know things like that, but there's loads of stuff that I just don't know, you know. And is it a good thing that they're lying to us? Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. I know they are lying. But is that the right? I mean, are they doing us a favor, or are they sort of basically, you know, evil? I don't know. I just don't know. I kind of wish I did know, you know, but that's why I'm having to do more research and keep my options open and stuff. Okay, yeah, bee pollen, going back to these supplements that I take, bee pollen is just like a really, really good source of nutrition. It just gives you, it's like by far better than any sort of vitamins you can take. It's going to give you a vast amount of all your vitamins and minerals and other things, you know, loads of useful stuff. It's really good for your gut bacteria. So it's just an incredibly useful. It would literally make you live 20 years longer. Now, He Shall Wu. Right, He Shall Wu. This is like It helps repair your DNA. So it's the most popular anti-aging herb in China. It helps you repair your DNA, so you know you're going to live longer. It also got lots of zinc in, and probably loads of other stuff that's really useful for you. It protects your colon again. It's really good for your colon. So yeah, I mean, it's just a really useful supplement. I get it from Hybrid Herbs. They seem to be, I mean, this is a British company. They seem to be like, everything they do that I've tried is really good quality. They're expensive, but I've tried cheaper stuff and it's useless. You're much better off just getting a really good quality stuff. As far as I'm concerned, generally, you may be able to find something cheaper of a similar quality, but I doubt it. It's not easy. I haven't been able to. And so this company, to me, is like a really useful, good company to know. Everything I've tried from there, although it's expensive, it's all really high quality. You know, I've had no complaints at all from them. That they ship out really quick. Great company. I told them I would yeah, because I've been had a relationship with this company for a few years now, and I've got a 15% discount voucher because I've talked up about their videos before. I've made videos about them and talked about their products. Yeah. Another one. I mean, this isn't this is just my reishi. I put it in a jar to keep it fresh. But this is also from Hybrid Herbs, just reishi extract. It's just a really good. It's one of the things that's called a herb of immortality. It's just a really good antioxidant. In Chinese traditional Chinese medicine, it's considered the most superior of all medicines. You know, reishi. It's good for everything: psychological problems, emotional problems, physical problems. It deals with everything. Okay, this is another one. I mean, it's just in like a little powder that I've got in some plastic tub. But it's Cistanch. It's called Cistanch. I mean, I've written it on there, but you probably can't see it. Cistanch, Cistanche. It's one of these plants that grows in the desert. It's sort of like a big flower that grows in the desert, and the guy that used to use it was that guy who basically conquered the world. You know, like a couple of thousand years ago. What's his name? He's got the most amount of descendants in the whole world. He's got like about 1 million people that have got his genes. He's really, you know, he was like really like had loads and loads of children. It's the Mongol Empire. What's his name? I'll think of his name in a minute. Anyway, this stuff it's also really good for your colon, and your colon is really important because it's one of the main areas where your gut flora make vitamins and stuff for your whole body, and stuff to build your immune system and repair all kinds of stuff. And it's just really important area, so it's really good to look after it with things like tobacco, fiber, lots of fibrous like fruit and vegetables, and herbs like He Shao Wu and Cistanch. Another one is black ant extract. I mentioned it in my last video. Black ant extract. It's also just there are a few herbs that I've discovered that are so powerful and so useful. It just seems madness not to use them. Now, Cistanch is one. He Shall Woo's another. Bee pollen is another one. Oh, was it Cistanch, He Shall Woo, bee pollen, black ant extract, also another just incredibly powerful and useful herb. There's quite a few more, like reishi, you know, that's also just, I mean, if you can get really good quality stuff, which you can get it from He Shall, hybrid herbs, why not get it? I mean, it's just so useful. Ashwagandha and rhodiola are also very useful. Siberian ginseng. I like marrow root. Schisandra, cordyceps. There is a whole lot of them. There's a whole lot of really useful herbs that are. It just seems madness not to have them. You know, they don't work. I mean, because considering me, I've spent so much money on cannabis, and just for like the cannabis that's going to last me, say, 3 weeks or 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks or even a week. You know, a week's worth of cannabis, I can buy almost a year's worth of reishi. You know. Ridiculously cheap compared to cannabis, you know, and this is like probably almost as useful as cannabis, you know. Cannabis I find is really useful, but it's just so expensive, you know. So what I've done in the last 5 years is try out loads of different other herbs and supplements and reduce the amount of cannabis I've been using, and so that I can try out all these other things. And I'm really glad I have, because it feels like I'm going to live longer. I mean, things like He Shall Woo, this one, you try that for a few days, you start feeling like you're going to live longer. It's sort of like you can feel it adding years to your life. But I don't get that on cannabis. I mean, I sort of get it on cannabis, but it's not the same. This is like, it's really adding years to your life, you know. You can feel it. You feel more sturdy. Your bones feel more dense. You just feel like you're going to live longer. You feel healthier. You feel younger. You know. So it's madness not to try it. And the bee pollen, you know, it's like it's just so nutritious and it's so easy to digest. That it basically works out so cheap, like 70 pence for a dose. It's like about $1, you know. It's like a whole meal, but it's like it lasts you all day, you know. It's so easy to digest. It's stupid. You'd be stupid not to have it regularly. So that's what I bought. I bought 6 kilos earlier on in the year in April. I've still got most of it left. I'm going to have to start using it more quickly. You know, when I quit drinking alcohol, then I'm going to be eating lots of bee pollen. It's got loads of lecithin, so it's good to help with rehydration as well. Now, a couple of the other herbs that I really like are Gotu Kola and Brahmi, or Bacopa monnieri. These are 2 herbs that work with the mind to balance the left and right sides of the brain. I had them again this morning. I had them yesterday morning. I had them again this morning. And I just feel much more together, you know, much more like in control of things, thinking clearly. When I first took them, I got them from Indigo Herbs, like the natural herbs, not extracts, just the plain herbs. And the Bacopa tastes pretty horrible, you know, as a herb. It's pretty nasty, you know. It tastes really bitter, but the effects are so good. You know, you can think so much more clearly. You're so much more relaxed, and they're amazing herbs. And for the price, they're pretty cheap. You know, £7 or £8 for 100 grams of each one. So you can get, like, say, I don't know, 20 doses off of them. So, and like one dose a day, it makes such a huge difference to the way you perceive the world. So really, really worth their money, because most people don't realize how unbalanced their brain is. You know, the doctors, if you go to the doctors and tell them you've got mental health problems, they'll give you an antidepressant and say, oh, it will help balance your brain chemistry. But that's bullshit. It doesn't balance your brain chemistry. It just gives you more serotonin, which isn't balancing your brain chemistry at all. It's just making you have more serotonin, which is like, it actually makes some people commit suicide because it's so fucking weird. But something like Gotu Kola and Brahmi, put them together, and you just feel like any depression has disappeared. You can think much more clearly. You know, I can't emphasize what a great thing that is, and it works out really cheap, incredibly useful. Okay. Some of the other herbs, when it comes to like just feeling better, you've got these 4 anti-inflammatories. You've got reishi, this is a coconut oil jar, but this is my reishi, ashwagandha, rhodiola, and gynostemma. They're the 4 superior anti-inflammatories. If you take all of them, or even two of them, or 3, you will just feel like you can get more stuff done. You don't get tired so quick. You can think more clearly. Just untold benefits from them. Okay, just going over them more. The anti-aging ones, you've got Cistanch, He Shall Woo, Black Ant Extract. Like those 3. And you could also add the cordyceps into that, and shilajit. You just feel like you're going to live longer. You feel younger, you know. I mean, that's always going to be a good thing. Just feeling younger, you automatically feel better, you know. So anyway, this is what I've discovered over the last 5 years. I've discovered loads of different supplements and herbs that do all sorts of really, really cool things, and just make your life so much easier. Okay, so I'm going to call it a day here. We're in 48 minutes. Thanks for watching. You know, if anyone wants to give me any feedback about any of these things that they've tried, or any other herbs or supplements, you know, I've also tried some amino acids which I've found really useful, which are arginine and citrulline. Citrulline malate is the one I use, and the keto arginine, AAKG, I think it's abbreviated to. I found those 2 are really good for what they do is those amino acids, arginine and citrulline, they repair your blood vessels. You know, they strengthen and repair your blood vessels. So they're really important for doing exercise, for thinking clearly, for heart health, you know, a whole load of stuff. So I do take them from time to time as well. You can get the same amino acids from cauliflower and beans. So having beans with cauliflower from time to time can actually, you know, so you don't have to have these amino acids. If you eat beans and cauliflower regularly, there's no real need to have them, you know. But they're two of some of the best sources. Watermelon's also a good source of citrulline, but you need to eat like 1.5 pounds a day, and it's just like ridiculous. Nobody's going to eat that much watermelon every day, not all year round. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to call it quits here. I don't know when I'm going to make another video, probably tomorrow, but I've got loads of stuff to be going on with. You know, I've got my work cut out for me. You know, I was thinking of, like, well, as I said earlier, when I get something working, you know, and I'll sort of quit drinking for say 3 or 4 days or 5 days, and things are looking well, then I'll probably talk to you about drinking then. But up until now, I still have to. I'm still preparing. I'm still planning. I'm still looking for like other methods to work. You know. Okay. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.